you don't look at him and think he's going to be Yoshinobu Yamamoto, but I think he's the same tier as, say, Kodai Senga. He's almost like Kodai Senga with more durability because Senga's always had these like injury concerns. Imai, with the exception of some stuff earlier in his career, has proven that he can, stay healthy. Innings are still a question in terms of like, I don't, he's not like a 200 inning guy, but can he pitch out of the rotation all year in MLB in year one and give you uh, 28 starts? I think absolutely yes. But yeah, let's start with Imai. What do you think of Imai in terms of what he's done in MPB and what will he do in MLB?
Yeah, like a lot of other people, the more I watch him, the more I'm like, I don't know. I think this might be like very high upside in
Hmm.
terms of I don't he's not a finished product, but I see like the number two upside in there. I see what people are talking about with he might be the best free agent pitcher, but I think that's kind of crazy to talk about when Framber Valdez is in the class. You know, guys like Dylan Cease are in the free agent class, and what he does, like you said, is it's unique. I, he has this runner fastball that is almost a two-plane shape. He throws it like he has command, and that's one thing that we can talk about is the command like progress. He's definitely controlled the zone more and started to throw more strikes. And then he has just this unusual pitch where I know it's not really a gyro ball because a gyro ball is like a pure like gyro spin, not it's just dropping straight down, but it's the closest thing to like a gyro ball you can get with like this reverse slider that he's almost throwing. And we've talked about that pitch in the past and how he could almost throw it more and more and get more outs. And you can see on like pitch plots and even just like watching him, like there's some occasions where like if he comes over to MLB, is he gonna start throwing that pitch more to like left-handed hitters and start like running the ball away from left-handers because he has this unique ability to like get behind the baseball and
Yeah.
like almost like pronate through it while throwing a slider. So yeah, I'm fascinated by him in terms of like what to expect from him. I think I wrote in something that got published in Prospects Live a couple like about 2 days ago. I think I wrote like he's definitely a four. He's probably around a three, but there's upside there, and I think that's why he's gonna get the money that's warranted in this free agent class. For you, like, what's the biggest thing about him? Because I think it's like the sudden control aspect. I, I don't even know if it's like straight up command, but the control aspect of like being able to throw strikes. Because this is a guy who like could not throw strikes, say 2 seasons ago, and then all of a sudden he started throwing strikes. So I think that's like the most fascinating part about him is if that command holds and he's like a 50 command guy, then we're talking about 2 to 3 type of upside. We're talking about like a guy who's actually gonna be very, very good in MLB. So I guess we can start there. Is just like how much better he's gotten at throwing strikes, basically.
Yeah, I think with most Japanese pitchers coming over, you can look at their MPB career, right? You can look at the resume. With Imai, I almost think it's not fair to look beyond like say 2 years ago
A year
because
and a
he's
half, yeah.
he's such a different pitcher today than he was earlier in his career. Now he's always had stuff. I remember back in 2021, he was like one of my breakout picks. But then
Mm.
he was like really bad because he's
Yeah,
again could not find the strike
it's
zone.
just the walks were
Um,
yeah very high.
and I've been doing like pitcher rankings for the past couple of years. And I think this kind of illustrates the steady improvements I've seen from him. So 2024, I had him number 20 on my preseason pitcher ranking,
Okay.
mostly based on just, again, the walk rate was too high. He was running like 15% walk rate. That comes with inherent volatility. And he actually had kind of overperformed a lot of his peripheral numbers. But then he added a tick to his fastball, so he went from like 93, 94 to more like 95, 96. And he was throwing more strikes certainly early in the season. That kind of tapered off in the second half of 2024. The walk rate kind of climbed back up. But so 2025, the preseason ranking, I had him number 11. And I think that was way too low because he ended up being a top three starter in MPB this past year. So if Imai were still staying in MPB going into 2026 preseason ranking, I'd probably have him number three.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like steadily moved up. The walk rate for his career is 12%. But this year it was 7%. So again, he's just finding
Hmm.
the strike zone more. If you look at just his fastball, for instance, from 2022 to 2024, it was a 53% zone rate, 61% strike rate. This year, 56% zone rate, 69% strike rate. So 3% increase in zone rate, 8% increase in strike rate. These are all great things. And really, I think one of the best things he's done is that he's completely leaned into this fastball slider thing to righties, right? So he
Yeah.
pushed that over 90% in 2024, which we've talked about a lot
We've
over the
been
past couple of years.
screaming it from the mountaintops for him just
Yes,
to throw that combo
because
more and more and more.
those are like that's his best pitch in the slider, and it tunnels really well with his fastball. The way this slider shape is like so short and tight, and again that reverse kind of unorthodox arm side movement, and he just has absolutely killed same-handed hitters. The problem has been managing his splits. He has not
Hmm.
been that good against lefties. 2024, it was a 102 xFIP minus, so below average against lefties. This year was his best, 93 xFIP minus. This is the only year he's been above average against opposite hand hitting. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts on, do you think he's going to have a massive splits issue in MLB? Basically, is his other pitches beyond the slider, so basically the changeup, the splitter, you can even throw in that Vulcan that he added late in the year. Are these
Yeah.
pitches going to be able to like is he going to be able to mix and match enough against lefties to survive?
Th- That's my biggest concern about him is the fastball shape playing against lefties, his command of the fastball shape glove side to lefties, and then also what is he going to throw off of that to get outs against lefties. People keep talking about how they like the split, and don't get me wrong, the splitter is good. It's just not as good as people are saying it. Like I don't think it's that good. Like I don't think it's like plus to double plus splitter. I think it's like a 55 grade splitter. I think it's very, very good, and his numbers with it have been decently good. My whole thing with him is, and maybe I could be completely wrong about this. I could be like almost overthinking it and big braining it, but to me, he wouldn't be throwing a changeup and a Vulcan and doing all this other
Yeah,
stuff if his splitter was that good.
yeah.
Um, I think he's gonna have to find a way to get to a consistent like shape on that splitter, and that seems like an oxymoron because sometimes splitters don't always like feel like they have consistent shape, but just the idea of even commanding that pitch and just making sure it's in the right spots, he's gonna have to find a way to get to that feel with that pitch. And then I think if he gets like a very consistent splitter and that splitter starts to play against lefties at a very high level, and he isn't just using it as like a pure chase pitch late in counts, then I can start to buy into there's number two, number three upside. Like there's definite number two upside if he can get lefties out. Um, Not that he like hasn't been able to show it in the past and like he doesn't have flashes of being able to throw the fastball glove side and stuff like that, but if you look at his like numbers, he doesn't zone anything and it's a lot of chase. And in MPB, like there is a lot of chase. There's almost too much, and he's even talked about it in like quotes like guys are so like afraid of my fastball that they're like fouling pitches off and trying to run my pitch count up. And it's like, what can he do to get to a point where he can start to use that splitter or maybe even use another pitch against the lefties at a high level where it's like I'm not as worried about the splits issue, because that's my biggest concern with him is I think he could struggle this first like 5 or 4 months of the MLB season, even like the first three, if the splits issue is like a real thing. And I'll emphasize this again. If he can't like command the fastball glove side against lefties, like almost put the ball underneath guys' hands, then is he gonna basically be a pitcher that just has to pitch away from lefties and hope that the splitter like tumbles off of the fastball? Like that's my biggest concern with him. But it's a super low slot, and maybe if he gets the fastball locations up even, like and he leans into that vertical approach angle. And I know Lance, I think, mentioned this that someone told him like his height adjusted vertical approach angle would be in like the 98th percentile, like it's Hava. So if he can lean into that and then start like targeting up with the fastball, then we're talking about okay, maybe he can do enough with the fastball to like curb this lefty problem that he's had in the past. Yeah, I'm very interested in like what he's going to do from like a mix standpoint
Yeah.
with lefties because I think he's just going to continue to go righties. Here's the fastball. Here's the gyro reverse slider. Like here it is. Like hit it. Whereas with lefties, I'm just worried about what he's going to do to get to it. I do think fastballs up could be a solution, but maybe we can talk about this. Does he have the command to get the fastball up with
Yeah.
with the shape, with the runner shape?
Yeah, that
That's
that
something that's
that's a
a
concern,
mystery.
right? To your point about getting fastball glove side, like we did see this improve in 2025. So from
Mm,
2022 to 2024, against lefties, he threw 34% glove side fastballs. And then in 2025, it was 42%. So he got that up 8%. And then we also talked about the splitter. He went from throwing the splitter to lefties only 4% of the time when he was behind in the count in 2024 to 9% in 2025. So I think he got a little bit more comfortable with it. But I agree that the fact that he added this, what he calls a sinker, because he got it from his teammate Itogawa, who has like a really nasty again, what in MPB is called a sinker, but in reality is a Vulcan change. He probably doesn't need to like tinker and play around with these other secondaries if the splitter
mm,
was something he actually had a ton of faith in. And the usage rate overall is pretty low for a reason. It's quite a bit behind his slider, and obviously that inherently means that to lefties he just has to mix more. But yeah, like another problem I think with him is, and this isn't really from a pitching perspective, but he's bad at holding runners. This year he was dead last
yeah.
in MPB in allowing stolen bases. He allowed 20 steals. I think because he's kind of messed with his mechanics a little bit in terms of
Mm,
you've talked about it in a previous episode that he kind of throws like a shortstop now, and I also just don't think he really cared when base runners were on. He was just kind of like, I'm going to focus on pitching. Um, he went so over from 2022 to 2023, he allowed two stolen bases, but over the last 2 years, he's allowed 30 stolen bases on 41 attempts. And I would normally say, like, okay, that's not a big deal. It's not all his fault. Obviously, the catcher has stuff to do with it too, and Seibu's catching situation isn't quite as strong as some other
yeah, it's
teams.
not as
But
strong.
there were so the Hiroshima start in like mid-June stands out to me. He allowed like three steals in like back-to-back innings, and Sandro Fabian, who was like one of the slowest runners in the league, also like stole off him, just got like a big jump. He just wasn't holding guys. And I think in MLB, which has a much stronger running game component now with the new rules than MPB, that could be a problem as well. If he lets guys on base with via the walk, which he's very susceptible to, I do think he's going to have to, you know, um, pitch around certain lefties that he can't really get to. They're going to be able to get on base against him, and then they might just, get into scoring position super quickly. And that might run up his ERA.